Hi, today, I will recap a movie called Cruel Intention. Cruel Intentions is a 1999 American teen romantic drama film about a rich boy who is obsessed with his stepsister. This boy really wanted to make love with his stepsister, so they made a bet. If he wins, he could make love with her. Okay, what's the continuation of the story? Watch out and take care. This is a spoiler content video. Enjoy the video and let's start the story. The film begins with a rich high school boy named Sebastian, who is undergoing psychological therapy for being too sexually addicted. Instead of therapy, Sebastian even aroused by his psychology. After Sebastian left, suddenly this psychologist's daughter called and said that her nude photos were spread on the internet. And it turned out that the one who spread the photo was Sebastian. The psychologist went after Sebastian, but Sebastian had left with a girl he just met. Amazing. He's the king of crap. Next, we are introduced to Catherine, Sebastian's stepsister. Catherine is labeled as a good child and a role model at school. So Cecile and her mother came, who asked for tips and tricks on how to be a good child. Suddenly, Sebastian came and greeted Cecile's mother by shouting in her ear. Because they felt uncomfortable with Sebastian, who had been labeled a bad boy and heathenish. Cecile and her mother finally left the house. After that, it is seen that Catherine is also a bad girl like Sebastian. Catherine also said that she really hates Cecile because Catherine's boyfriend cheated on Cecile, so Catherine wants to take revenge on Cecile. She ordered Sebastian to sleep with Cecile so that Cecile was labeled bad girl by people. But Sebastian refused and said he didn't want to make love with Cecile, because getting Cecile is really easy, too easy. I need a challenging one. Sebastian also looked at a magazine that had a photo of a girl named Annette. She was known as a smart girl, diligent in worship, the daughter of the principal, and did not want to make love before marriage. So Sebastian also feels more satisfied if he can make love with Annette because it can increase the level of his fame. Hearing that Catherine even doubted Sebastian, so Sebastian feels even more challenged and invites Catherine to make a bet. Where if Sebastian fails to make love with Annette, then Sebastian's favorite luxury car will belong to Catherine. But if Sebastian succeeds in making love with Annette, Sebastian also could make love with his stepsister, and even better, Sebastian can stab her anywhere. Then Sebastian goes to his aunt's house. It turned out that his aunt was the arrival of the guest, Annette. His aunt said Annette would take it here for a week. Sebastian was really happy and immediately began to tempt Annette. But apparently Annette knew the Sebastian reputation known as a bad boy. Feeling rejected, Sebastian is increasingly challenged by Annette's cold attitude. He is also curious who has revealed his secret. On the other hand, Cecile was studying music with his teacher named Ronald. Instead of teaching, Ronald was actually aroused with Cecile. Suddenly Catherine came and Ronald was shocked, then he left the place. Then it looks Sebastian comes to his gay friend and asks who has spread his secret. His friend also suspected Greg, Annette's best friend, but it turned out that it wasn't Greg that spread Sebastian's secrets. After Sebastian threatened Greg to find out, finally we know that what leaked his secret was Cecile's mother. On the other hand, Catherine is relaxing with Cecile, and from here Catherine knows that Cecile also likes her music teacher, Ronald. When at home, Sebastian was very emotional because it was upset with Cecile's mother. Finally, he's working with Catherine to drop Cecile and his mother. The next day, Sebastian and Catherine run his mission by reporting to Cecile's mother about Ronald's love story and Cecile. Cecile's mother was angry and immediately drove Ronald. When in the elevator, Ronald met Sebastian and Catherine, who gave him that Cecile also loved him. Ronald was told to make a reply letter his love for Cecile. Then Sebastian brought the letter to Cecile. But here Sebastian is even aroused and intends to screwing Cecile. Sebastian immediately kisses Cecile, but it's not her mouth lip, but lip under the stomach. The next day, their aunt told Sebastian and Annette to go to the nursing home. After returning from the nursing home, Annette knew that Sebastian was very bored there, so she entertained Sebastian all the way home. Entertainment from Annette can make Sebastian laugh. And this is where they feel love for the first time. On the other hand, Cecile tells the story that last night Sebastian wrote letters with his tongue until he felt like exploding. But Catherine instead said that the thing that Cecile did was correct, and it would make Cecile to be a real woman. Catherine also told Cecile to practice sleeping with Sebastian, so that later it didn't make Ronald disappointed when making love with her. The next day, Sebastian was observing Annette. Catherine came and reminded him of the bet they did. Hearing that, Sebastian convinced Catherine that he would not lose. Then Sebastian approached Annette and immediately kissed her. Apparently Annette also wanted to be kissed by Sebastian. But suddenly Annette changed his mind and immediately pushed Sebastian so that they is being fighting. At night, Sebastian began to give up get Annette, so he wanted to say goodbye away. But suddenly Annette instead locked the door, then opened her clothes, and then told Sebastian to make love with her. But whatever changed Sebastian's mind, he instead ran away because he could not sleep with Annette. The next day, Annette turned out to have left her aunt's house to move to her friend's house. After finding out the existence of Annette from Greg, finally Sebastian knew Annette was still at the station. Then he followed her and told Annette that actually he had fallen in love for the first time with Annette. And it turned out that Annette also fell in love with him. And finally they are making love, and this is the first time for Annette. So Sebastian has won the stakes. Then Sebastian returned home. Sebastian wants to ask the bet to make love with his stepsister. But Sebastian instead heard the sound of making love from Catherine's room. After entering the room, it turned out that Catherine is only alone. But when the drawer bottom of the bed was opened, there was a Ronald who has just finished making love with Catherine. So Ronald came out of there because he was embarrassed. Catherine was still not satisfied here, so he told Sebastian to make love with her. But now Sebastian is feeling disgusted with Catherine, so he left her. So Catherine became really angry. Catherine continued to try asking for making love with Sebastian, but Catherine saw Sebastian who was calling intently with Annette. Catherine who saw it was upset, so she said that the reputation of Sebastian would be destroyed if he was dating Annette. Catherine also threatened to tell Annette about the stakes. Hearing the threat of Catherine, Sebastian chose to tell Annette himself. He said that he never loved her and did everything just because of a bet that he had to make love with her. Annette felt hurt and drove out Sebastian. Sebastian returned to his house and met Catherine. He said that he had broken up with Annette, so it was time for Catherine to make love with Sebastian. But it turned out that Catherine did not want to do it because since the beginning Catherine had planned all this. He used Sebastian to screw Cecile. Not only Sebastian, even Ronald, Cecile's mother, was only considered as toys by Catherine. Catherine also said that Sebastian was very stupid because he left his first love just because he was afraid of losing his reputation. Then Sebastian went to meet Annette, but she did not want to meet him. So Sebastian gave him a letter and his diary containing all the girls who had been making love with him. The next day, Catherine called Ronald by the phone and said that Sebastian had slept together with Cecile. Ronald was really angry and went looking for Sebastian. Finally Ronald managed to find Sebastian and immediately beat him. It turned out that Annette also followed Sebastian, so she was about to separate the fight. But bad luck, Annette was even thrown into the middle of the road and almost hit by a car. Sebastian who saw it immediately pushed Annette. Finally Sebastian was hit by a car and now he is dying. Before Sebastian died he had time to say that he does love Annette. On the first day of school, all students commemorate Sebastian's death. Catherine made a speech here as chair of the student council and Sebastian's stepsister. Suddenly a student came and distributed a book that made one by one students out of there. Catherine was upset and curious, so she also comes out. It turns out that everyone is reading a Sebastian's diary containing all the secrets and crime of Catherine so far. When the principal opened the necklace, it turned out that the contents are drugs. Instantly the reputation of Catherine as an example student was destroyed without remaining. At the end of the film, we've seen Annette, who was relieved and happy because he had been with Sebastian. And the movie of Cruel Intention is over. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoy it. Please give me thumbs up and click the subscribe button. See you on another video.